had a couple of days to kind of reflect on the Feeder Masters final down at Bower Beach. Obviously, looking back on a match like that, regardless of the result, you can always find room for improvement, and your thoughts are a little bit different than they are straight after the match. It's been a fantastic competition. Those of you that watched the video from early on in the year before the qualifiers began, thanks for watching that, by the way, with myself and Wayne Bartholomew. It's been a tough campaign just to get in the final, and that's what that's what we wanted in an event like this. If it was easy, then we wouldn't want to be part of it. Wayne qualified on the River Trent, as a lot of you may already know, and as he predicted, as I might add. I qualified actually at Bower Beach. I'd never seen the venue before. I qualified there. First visit, won my section with about, I don't know, £16 or £18, but obviously that got me a golden ticket to the final, which was brilliant. And obviously doing that on the venue gives you a little bit of a confidence boost as well, obviously, for the final. So the final, I was last weekend. It's Saturday and Sunday. It's a weight competition for those of you that don't know. It was a who's who of feeder fishing, basically European feeder fishing, and that's exactly what the organisers, Mick Viles and Lee Carey and the Angling Trust, actually wanted it to be. Looking back, it's been probably one of the, if not the best organised final I've ever fished. It was absolutely flawless, fantastic. The groundspeople there and the owner of the fishery was absolutely fantastic, and a massive thank you to them, and hopefully that will continue to be the final for many years to come. Day one saw me draw on the Dam Head. I drew next to Rob Wotton on my right hand side. On my left was Brian Nesbitt, the venue expert, if you want to say that, but he's certainly the locals' favourite to have won that competition going into that weekend. I came second of the section. I only had £8.15, which shows probably how tough it did fish, but I got completely smashed up by Brian at the next peg. He had a proper steady performance. He's not had really any mega busy periods as such. He's just ticked over nicely, and when the fish were £2 and £3 a piece, he's built up a weight, and he's won the section easily, and obviously schooled some of us on how to fish the venue and the sort of approaches that they use there. So I came away with £8.15 after day one. Rob was on my right, and we struggled. I mean, the weight obviously says that. I caught at 50 metres on that day. I had a short line set up ready for a rotary tack if I needed it, with a Pro Natural dark mix, but I never used it. I never went on it. I never felt I needed to go on it, because once Brian caught 2 or 3 bream, I thought the bream were in the area, so I've stayed on a 50-metre line. And after the first 25 minutes, I was winning the section easily. I probably 5 or 6 fish before anyone really had caught. And then my pegs just died. Looking back on hindsight, I think I've just attacked it too aggressively, too early, and the fish have just gradually dwindled and drifted away after 25 minutes. I've had a middle period of the match of about 2.5 hours where I just haven't had a fish. The last 45 minutes, out of pure desperation, I've gone out to 60 metres, which is obviously 10 metres past my main line, with a method feeder, because I thought, well, if I get one now, I need it to be a proper stamp fish. So I fished a method with a boilie, and I've had 2 skimmers late on. Important fish, yes, but too little too late, to be fair. I should have been a lot closer to Brian, but anyway. So I was on £8.15 going into day 2. That put me in 17th position, which might sound a long way out of it, but to be fair, the weights were that close and that tight that I wasn't that far behind a frame position. So day 2, I drew peg 36, which is right in a section where the fish had been for the previous 2 or 3 days. On paper, it was the wrong end of that section, because my section ran to my right, going up to Glenn Lawrence 2 pegs to my right, who was in the more favoured area, let's say. But as we know, bream and fish move, and there had been a pattern where the fish had moved probably 1 or 2 pegs from where they were the previous day, and that happened in a couple of places around the reservoir. On my left was Gareth Lambert. I knew exactly how Gareth was going to fish. I knew that day 1 what he was going to do on day 2, because he told me he was just going to attack it, fish for bream, put plenty of worm in, and just, he was on the same weight as me after day 1, so he had nothing to lose, and that's an approach that Gareth is very, very good at, and he opted to do that. The wind was quite strong and threatening to get stronger on day 2. I was obviously chasing a weight, just like Gareth, and I've just gone to attack it really. I was warned about snags in the swim between about 25 and 40 metres. There were 2 ledges there. So I had a good look round for where those were before the start of the match with a bomb, Like I said, the wind was threatening to get stronger, so I've just put 2 4-metre horizon rods for that line, one with a 5,500 reel and the other one with the new 6,000 reel, because I thought if those conditions do, you know, deteriorate and get even worse, then I still wanted to reach the range that I decided to fish. Gareth chose to fish at 50 metres, which I thought was quite interesting. I expected him going further than that, but he fished at 50 metres, and now I've selected a line at 60 metres just to give myself more space out there. That was also about, I bet it was 20 metres further than the angler on my right hand side as well, so I was confident I was out where the fish were. But the main reason why I'd gone out 60 metres was just to give myself a little bit more distance between the area where I was fishing and the actual ledges, just to give myself more time and more space, should I say, to get the feeders up and over those snags if I was going to be catching. I was the last one to catch in the section. Obviously, going into a final like that on day 2, you're chasing it anyway. The last thing you want is a really slow start. Everyone had caught. Gareth had a bream. It must have been nearly £5 in the first 20 minutes. And the anglers on my right were catching small fish. But I stuck at it. I was using strong meat. I've used Special G again. It's a mix I've been using all year, and I've used that this weekend because it's a strong fish meal mix. And I just think it's brilliant for the days when you're trying to be a little bit more selective about the stamp of fish that you're going to be catching or that you're targeting. And that's a mix I've used to target bigger bream. And I just stuck with it really. I stuck with it, and after about an hour I started to get indications. I've caught 2 skimmers, and then I've had a run of lost fish. I've probably lost 3 fish then, the next 3 that I've hooked. One of them was only a pound, and a pike took that once I got it over the ledge, which was a little bit annoying, as you can imagine. But then I've lost 2 more fish, literally just almost winding them off, because when you've got snags or ledges there, I was hooking fish and I was just trying to crank them a little bit too much, and I've wound them off. Gareth was ticking over steadily on my left, and he's caught some fish. And to cut long story short, I've ended up losing, I think I lost 7 fish, 7 bream. It wasn't the feeder getting caught on the ledge, it was the hook length. We were having to fish with, or I could only get bites with hook lengths of between 75 centimetres and a metre, and that's the bit that was causing the problem with the rig. I just couldn't get them up over those ledges. Gareth lost, I think Gareth lost 2 or 3 as well, but maybe, I don't know if his peg was quite severe with the ledges, I don't know. He's fished 10 metres closer in than me, which may have had an impact, I don't know. So going into the last 2 hours, I was really behind Gareth, and probably just about up with Glenn, who was 2 pegs to my right, Glenn Lawrence. He's caught a lot more fish than both myself and Gareth, but he's caught a smaller stamp of fish, but he's caught them quite steady for the first 2.5 hours. So I got a method feeder set up just out of desperation, because I thought maybe that's a rig that I could get up over the ledges if I was having problems, and that's exactly what I've done, and that's what's worked for me. I punched the method feeder out. I've had to put an extra 10 gram on there, so I think it worked out at 55 gram, I think it was, just to reach the 60 metre mark. And I fished it with a boilie, because again I thought I don't want to be coming back with pound skimmers, because whenever I hooked a fish like that I pike took it anyway. I needed the 3 and 4 pound fish that we knew were out there and in the area, so that's what I've done. And I clawed my way back, and I've ended up with 26 pound odd. Gareth I knew all the way through Gareth was 2 fish in front of me, and that's exactly where he's beat me by. The way that he's fished with worm and a longer tail, a more conventional feeder rig, and that's been right. It was right for the previous 2 or 3 days, but I just couldn't fish it that way. I always felt Gareth was going to beat me on that anyway. I mean, he's brilliant at that anyway. He does it so well, but that was definitely the way, or a better way to present it. So yeah, I've ended up winning the section, £100 for the section, which was brilliant. I beat Glenn, which I was surprised, but it really shows the stamp of fish. For some reason, Glenn's caught smaller fish, but he's fished a brilliant match, and he's had to tackle the snags and the ledges and the pike as well, so he's done brilliant to catch what he's caught. I've won the section. The weight's actually scraped me in. It's actually, my cumulative weight has actually got me into 5th overall, which I'm absolutely over the moon with. I've got to admit. Obviously, losing 7 bream like I've lost, I've ended up £10 behind first place and the £12,000 check. £10, it was 3 of the fish that I was catching. I've lost 7, but I've got to be realistic about it. Had I lost 1 more fish, I wouldn't have won a single penny. I wouldn't have framed, I wouldn't have won a penny on the weekend. So you sometimes you just got to cut your losses and just be thankful for what's happened. So that's been my final, to be fair. Cannot wait for next year. It's a final that I'm going to do my utmost to be part of. Obviously, you guys out there know that I'm a bit of a feeder head and what I'll be part of, and the guys that I love competing against them, that's obviously an event I strongly want to be part of. So huge thank you to the organisers. Absolutely flawless final, fantastic. And you know, the calibre angler that's been in it really does it testament. And you know, I know everyone's going to be fighting so hard to be in that final again next year, and I'm over the moon. It's going to be Bower Beach again. So thanks again for watching, guys. Next year I'll try and do a little bit more footage about the actual my qualifying campaign. I didn't do so much of it this year because I was just really that focused on actually getting into that final and qualifying. So I'll do that next year. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and we're looking forward to next year's event already.